Hi all, I'm Zavier. A very happy 2025 to all of you, and also a very happy Chinese New Year in advance. Right, a timely video they want to put out at the start of the year, mainly to review the crazy end we had last year, towards the end of 2024, of course, and then into 2025, about really forecasting the year, what sectors to look out for, what are the opportunities out there that you can take advantage. I mean, ideally for myself, it's always about looking at leading indicators and how we can make use of the information to front-run things and to get a little bit more advantage as compared to others who react a bit slower. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump right straight into it. All right. Okay, first up, if you look at this chart, it's something that I want to do a quick review of what I anticipated when I shared last year. I also shared this last year in one of my videos. This chart shows the total new sales price and volume trend across the entire Singapore, new sales, new launches from 2001 to 2023. So I was pointing out the abnormal trend that you can see that I bordered up in red, 3 years of consecutive drop in volume. And evidently in 2022 and 2023, the volumes are substantially lower than the average volume of 10,800 units over the 20 years average, right? So I was predicting that because this is quite abnormal, and there is no 3 or 4 years consecutive drop in volume, I was predicting that in 2024, the volume should be at least the same, or if not exceed the 6,900 units that were done in 2023. So we fast forward to the end of 2024, which we had the data coming in, and you can see now that, yes, because of the last surge in the last quarter, I think there's a lot of pent-up demand just because the the volumes has been much lower than average volume in general. You can see we closed out at almost 7,500 units in 2024, right? So what does it mean? If you see generally when there is an uptick, there's a change in direction in the volume trend, the price usually goes upwards. Okay, so with that, or if you haven't got something in 2024, which I was trying to front run as a form of leading indicator, right? Then you can take it as 2024. I feel as a solidification, a new wave in a certain extent has arrived, right? And it should gather strength in 2025. Okay. Okay, let's also take a step back to understand what is really happening. I mean, if you are quite new into the market, you'll be thinking, wow, why is prices in the outskirt area doing 2,000 so comfortably, and then in the RCR, you got prices hitting up to 3,000 PSF, which is quite crazy. And even for seasoned property investors, you may not know exactly why this is happening. Okay, so actually it all boils down. I've been talking a lot about this. If you follow me, even before COVID, during COVID, I mentioned this a lot about decentralization. Now, this was a plan hatched in 1991, concept plan by URA. Now, what is the difference between a concept plan and a master plan, you must be wondering. Concept plan is something that the government actually laid down the vision and plans for up to 50 years, 30 to 50 years. The master plan, the one that we hear it on a daily basis, that is being refreshed every 5 years to 10 years. This is the one that actualize and implement the entire concept plan. So they had this very big theme of decentralization back in 1991, and this particular map of Singapore, I believe, with the resolution and how it's being drawn, was also done in 1991. So it shows about how they want to spread the entire concentration in the business activity from the CBD outwards to the rest of Singapore through transport, through work, live, and play, essentially. That's why you hear a lot of this term, work, live, and play. It's about businesses being near us so that we can commute easily. It's about very sustainable kind of living, such that everyone benefits. It's not just the people in the city center. So this plan really being implemented very well. That's why we move forward to the current times. You see this entire plan whereby there's so many regional centers, so many business nodes, and in the recent plan, they even hatch out this entire, I would say the Bermuda Triangle. We got the Western Gateway. So the Western Gateway is where the new port 2.0 is where they shifted from the Brani, Tanjong Pagar, and eventually Pasir Panjang will all eventually be moved to the west, And you can see that little icon over there, the little ship icon. You can know that the west will be where they want to anchor the sea concentration. I would say the sea-related businesses in the west. Maybe it's more of the port business, and maybe a little bit more of the dirty industries over there that's related in shipping in general. Okay, and then you move over to the east with the aeroplane down there. Of course, Singapore as being an air hub is probably the most defended industry during COVID. You can kind of tell that this industry is something that Singapore really holds true to its heart, and it's something that cannot die, cannot cease to exist. It is one that leads us besides the financial sector. Okay, that's why you have the aeroplane down there, and now we, of course, you're building T5. Okay, so having conquered the air side in Changi with the new T5, and in the west, we got the concentration of all the ports in Tuas. Now the focus is on the north. I think this should be probably about the last stage of our decentralization plan. And with this talk of the town, the special economic zone with Johor. I know there's some concern about job losses, people not needing to rent or to buy in Singapore because they can easily commute, or they can even stay in Johor Bahru where the businesses move over there. I think that's legit concern in general, but at the same time, you must also understand that Singapore has always been wanting to move up the value chain, okay, in terms of productivity and efficiency, in terms of immigration, about attracting the best of a certain bracket. I believe the list of people wanting to come into Singapore is very long. And if we have that luxury to select the very best, then I think it only bodes well for Singapore. Because by doing so, it actually frees up more space for more higher value things in Singapore. But we do know at the same time that lower value things has already been slowly leaked out over the years to neighboring countries. For example, let's say in Philippines, they are hub, right, for virtual assistants because of their command of language and in terms of doing admin work which can be outsourced. So even with AI, I can tell you, probably all these jobs will be irrelevant. So it's a matter of time ultimately, and I think this is what Singapore is good at, is really in terms of having a good foresight and having this abundance theory. By doing so, you still have a bit of control on the lower value side of things. And also at the same time, if you think about it, many businesses who find that costs are a bit steep in Singapore can actually move some businesses over to the Johor side and take advantage of cheaper land and cheaper manpower. Now, all in all, when outsiders, not just in this region, but when the global investors and business owners are looking in this region, they know that by investing in Singapore, they do have this two-pronged approach. I think it's quite interesting, right? They can actually tap on the cheaper side in Johor Bahru, but at the same time, you know that the commuting to Singapore, if they're going to set up their headquarters in Singapore, it's also very easy. And that probably explains why our prices are this sky high. Just some examples of these prices being fetched in some of these RCR and OCR location. Over here, you can see 8 at BT already reaching 2,008, even 3,000 per square feet, right, for the 1-bedroom. And then reserve residences over 3,000 per square foot, and this is for a 5-bedroom that's over 2,005 square feet. 8 million over in reserve residences. So you can see how decentralization is really affecting and causing prices to really go up island-wide. Then, of course, we have the talk of the town, Emerald, Katongs in November, and then Chuan Park also. All these are hitting very, very high prices. Even Nava Grove, this one is not, all these are actually all 99 years, and this is not even walking distance to the MRT station. And you can see it's 2.7 comfortably, right? So these are the prices that have already been achieved. So then, just to ask all of you, I know this is quite a redundant question. Did prices really go up? Now, the reason why I'm asking this is because on surface, wherever you're seeing news and we're seeing all these prices, yes, of course, prices did go up. But if you really go in depth into it, you understand there's certain opportunities coming up this year. And certain areas, actually the prices have been very lagging, or in other words, a bit undervalued in that sense. Okay, so look at this chart, for example, over here. Okay, this is a chart that compares resale prices, comparing core central region, rest of core region, and outside core region, right? Obviously, this is based on their pricing. The blue is CCR, yellow is RCR, and then the pink is OCR. Okay, you can see this one is from 2014 to 2024. Now, for the core central region, even from 2014 to 2024, the prices only went up by 24%. Okay, in this 10-year period, if the prices went up by 24%, you just simply divided by 10, not counting compounding. It actually went up only around 2.5% every year, which is just actually pegging to our inflation or our GDP growth. If you tell me prices really go up in CCR, I will say no. That's the reason why I ask you guys, did prices really go up? But of course, when you compare with RCR and OCR, as explained with what's happening in Singapore since 1991, you realize that, wow, boom, the prices actually go up a fair bit, 50% in the last 10 years. And even in the last 5 years, it became even more pronounced because of COVID and all these things that accelerated the decentralization to a greater level, right? That's why you got 40% and 30% growth in the RCR and OCR area. And then we go straight also into the new launch comparison between CCR, RCR, and OCR. You realize that the gap, okay, over here, the blue, of course, is the CCR. Yellow is the RCR. The gap has been decreasing since 2020. Just take it as 5 years ago, from 26+% all the way up to 14%. Okay, disregard 2025 because just start of the year, maybe a few transactions affected the entire trend. But you can see how it's being narrowed already, right? So, in other words, I mean, I really kind of feel that decentralization has really grown a fair bit and taken over the entire Singapore except for the core central region. And the core central region is something that has been lagging and undervalued. And there is really very exciting opportunities this year to take advantage of that because it's time for some catch-up, all right? Some interesting thing is also to know that transformation is coming back to the core central region. If you can see Orchard over here, there's a lot of things that's happening. It's about how they want to revitalize the entire Orchard. I mean, you ask yourself this question since when is the last time you really spend a lot of time in Orchard doing shopping? Actually, for the large bulk of us, I mean, honestly, probably not. The days whereby, I mean, I was in the era whereby we say we meet at Plaza Singapura, we meet at Cine Leisure, Cine is called it, right? The days are over. The kids don't say this anymore. They probably say Next and things like that, right? The more regional shopping centers. So the government is actually doing a lot more to revitalize and to transform the core central region. So this is just Orchard per se. There's a lot about this in the URA website you can explore. And then also the big news about how Marina South, this area where we used to fly our kites, will actually be a very vibrant new region. I think it's a new township that's going to be set up. So you have Punggol New Town, you got Tengah New Town, you got Bidadari New Town. Marina South will be a new town. And this particular Marina South Urban Design Guide, okay, this one you can download. Okay, you can also text me, I can send it to you. It's up to 30 pages long about the entire plans they have for this region. So it's very exciting. If you know this area well, this CBD area well, and we go by this work, live, and play thing, the thing that is lacking over here is the live element and to some extent the play element. I think play okay, half-half. I think more of the live element, right? Because there's no real community housing that's being set up. I always say that it's easier to introduce work element into the live places. That's why decentralization actually took place very fast and being accelerated by COVID. But the reverse is a bit more difficult because you're asking people to kind of start to stay and trying to set their roots in a new area. It will take time, but I believe, I mean, if you look at the entire transformation of Singapore, whatever that they have planned out has so far, I would say 90% has been implemented very well and to some extent over-implemented. For example, you look at Punggol, Sengkang, everywhere is housing. You turn left, turn right, sometimes I'll get lost there. In fact, without the GPS, I can assure you most people will get lost if they don't stay over there, right? So Marina South is something very exciting. I've heard that, I mean, I've read articles, I've heard that there will be even HDBs that will be introduced over there. And I'm not surprised, I know, I mean, there's a reason why they came up with the new HDB model, the prime housing model, right? And it's not just here, you see a lot of prime housing everywhere in Queenstown, in all the very good locations, Queenstown, Bishan, even in Tanjong Ru over here. So if HDB is going to be over there, I think slowly it will be transformed and the lift element will be nicely integrated into the area. And I think if you are the first few that gets into this marina area, then you can kind of benefit from being the first mover. Okay, I'll be sharing more exact opportunities, exact projects to be looking out for. And probably in the next video, I'll talk a little bit more on the projects. But if you want something, if you want a quick summary of the exciting projects ahead, right, do drop me a WhatsApp and I'll send it to you, okay, first. Okay, a quick summary to put everything together on why I think CCR is something exciting this year and you should be looking out for it. Okay, first up is the price gap between RCR and CCR. I do think that CCR is a bit undervalued in that sense, and there's a lot of catch-up to play, okay? Okay, the supply pipeline, because there's over 5,000 new launches in the CCR location this year. With that, and also I think there's a little bit more fear coming up from the background of the entire CCR location. I think recently One Burnham, if you know, the prices have been slashed for the leftover units, and before that was Cascaden Reserve. So because of the supply and because of this existing fear, I do think that the developers will actually price it very sensibly, and this is something that you can take advantage of. Okay. Also, whether 3 years flipping is a norm. I've been saying this a lot in my previous video. Having been in this line for 12 years, I do not think that it should be taken as a certainty. It is definitely an option for new launches because of the highest ROI. But if it doesn't happen, a holding period for me, any property should be a longer term asset of at least 5 to 8 years, or even up to 10 years for something that's quality and if you plan to stay long term in it, right? So what determines it to be a good longer term kind of property? I think ultimately there must be some form of transformation potential, and of course a quality project in a quality location. Okay, so all this I won't go into detail. I'll be sharing more in my other videos upcoming. All right, so I also talk about the Johor Special Economic Zone, and I do know that, I mean, there's this threat of a lesser demand for housing, for rental, and for purchase. But also because of that, we want to counter it with something of quality purchase. Maybe if you haven't purchased anything, the CCR location is something good. You get something quality, get something in a good location, and then for the longer term, it will actually appreciate even more. Because if you are talking about properties in this area, which leads me to the other point about lifestyle, I think Singaporeans in general, our income, our affluence level has already reached another milestone for the people at the very, very top. It's a totally different level of need and satisfaction. It goes beyond just investment gain or 3 years flipping. It's totally different. To them, it's buying something nice, buying something that they really liked. And most of this property are usually located in the CCR locations. Okay? Yes, I mean, with that, I hope that you guys have enjoyed the session, and I'll be talking a little bit more about the different products that's upcoming in this location to look out for. Okay, so stay tuned. Thank you. Bye-bye.